And welcome everybody to the Indiana Esports Network Middle School Minecraft Bed Wars Grand Finals. My name is Obi and I'm joined by the amazing Kaizo to call the action with you. Now, Kaizo, I've been here throughout the season, but this is your first time casting Bed Wars. But you said you know Minecraft very well. So how are you feeling getting to commentate it for the first time?
This is going to be a really interesting experience for me because I grew up with Minecraft. I probably spent more time playing Minecraft at night than sleeping through most of my middle and high school days, so I'm familiar with the source material, but it's going to be a bit of a different look for him, and I'm very excited to see how Minecraft translates into an esports environment because obviously we're here in Grand Finals, things are getting pretty heated, and I know that all these players are going to be hunting down that trophy.
I know this is definitely a pinnacle, I would say, a competitive Minecraft, other than, you know, the Minecraft Championship that happens in the content creator universe. But I'm definitely excited to see these four teams. And speaking of the teams, why don't we take a look at that bracket to see who our competitors are for these grand finals. The top four teams that have fought through the playoffs are going to be Greensburg Junior High School, Argos Dragons Middle School, Hebron Middle, and Batchelor Minecraft Varsity as well. Now, I kind of give you the crash course on these teams. Let's do a little pop quiz. What do you remember from that about these four teams here, guys?
Oh, everything, man. I've heard that the two teams to beat are going to be Greenville and the Argos Dragons. We've seen a lot of high performances from those two. It's been pretty dominant performances in each of their phases of the bracket to get to where we're at right now. Whereas Hebron Middle, on the other side of things, has really just been barely squeaking by in each of these games. But, you know, obviously all you need to do in the competitive environment is get by that elimination point. They have managed to avoid elimination at every turn to get here into the grand finals as the number 6 seed. So we're very happy to see them here and interested to see what they've got going on. And Batchelor, on the other hand, actually did take... Man, you're going to have to correct me on this if I'm wrong, because I didn't write this all down. Am I doing okay so far, though?
No, you're at 100% right now. Keep going.
Okay. If I'm remembering correctly, I heard from a very reliable source that Batchelor had a bit of a standout performance recently going up against a fairly high-seeded team in their side of the bracket and getting a pretty successful game out of them and actually taking away what would have been one of our likely qualifying teams to find their way here into the Final Four in this Grand Finals.
Yeah, so that's a little bit backwards, but you got it. Beautiful. That's like A,
nice.
A. All right, so for Batchelor, right, they had a tie against Hobart, right? That 9-8 wasn't accurate. It was just reprogrammed after a best of one because they tied in every tiebreaker department. Now, Hebron is that school that kind of snuck through by getting those two, I'm assuming, final kills. So that's the only way you can get that number of points in this game, right? So the Vikings, I think, they were the team to beat coming into this, right? They were the number one in the regular stage. And just falling short. I think they were hard targeted by Greensburg. So Hebron, get an opportunity of a lifetime, nail it. But these teams aren't just competing for pride. They're competing for these beautifully crafted trophies. I just like the woodmanship personally. Like, I'm thinking of like how clean that looks, and I'm like looking at that geometry as an engineering student, and I'm like, how did they make it that clean?
No, that is a beautiful trophy. I like the dark wood color, almost like a mahogany. I think Ron Burgundy would be very proud if he got to hold one of those trophies. But you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of times once we have these esports competitions, you don't get that in-person physical trophy, but being able to hoist this one up at the end of the season, I think would be just the absolute chip on the shoulder for the rest of the teams to have to watch somebody else do it, but also a defining moment for these esports teams if they can manage to pull this off.
Yes, for sure. And while we get ready to jump into our first map of Undergrowth, it's a great time to say who made all of this broadcast and those beautiful trophies possible. We have three sponsors here lifting up the Indiana Esports Network: Zotac, Landfest, and League OS. Now, Zotac, you know, I just upgraded my PC. Unfortunately, did not get any Zotac parts. Zotac, if you want to hook me up. But we have to give a huge shout out to them for powering today's stream. Thanks to their incredible support, we're able to showcase some amazing talent in the Scholastic esports space. You can even show your appreciation for Zotac by giving them a shout out on social media. They have a Discord community, and you can go ahead and use hashtag powered by Zotac or hashtag ZotacUSA on your posts.
And thank you as well to Landfest for helping us build healthy communities through gaming. We've got 23 chapters across 18 different states, amounting to over 150 events a year, Zobi, through Landfest. And you can find an event near you at landfest.com if you're looking to get involved in the esports community and participate in some of these 150 plus events.
Oh, for sure. And that beautiful playoffs bracket that we showed you guys beforehand, that was all coming from League OS. It's used to track and organize all of these amazing competitive opportunities. You can go to portal.leagueos.gg to go ahead and search. You can also, if you're an IEN student, sign up to manage your prospect profiles. You can see stats automatically, and you can just find opportunities no matter whether you are a shoutcaster, social media manager, player. Make sure you can add all of your talents to your profile. So make sure you check it out because it is free and it's a great chance to get discovered. But we're already into the action here, right? And we already said that one of the teams to beat was going to be Greensburg, and this is exactly why. They're so coordinated, right? Already less than a minute into the game, they have full control over middle versus the rest of the squads were already just kind of battering down the defenses. And this is what you like to see, a little rush force really early into the game. And this is why they were so dominant, almost getting a flawless game in the semifinals. Like I said, there's a duo rush squad happening here, right? And we'll see what they can do here, Kaizo.
Yeah, they're going to be built up over the top of almost Fortnite style here, though. When it's a drop down, it's actually going to be a 1v2 challenge. He does get the 1v2 off and manages to trade out there. So credit to Edgier Warrior for staving off some of that aggression from Greensburg. But Batchelor still under fire here from the rest of the Greensburg assault.
A singular attacker. This is where you get that. Again, you respawn, so you can take these dive bomb tactics. If you both fall off, you're going to respawn right back at your base, and so you've defended things successfully. Especially when, like I said, the speed there from Greensburg meant there were very few blocks here on this bed. And speaking of blocks, here's your next lesson, Kaizo, is there's a few different blocks you typically see in the early stages: wool, endstone, and wood. And that's because there's different tools, and if you buy a pickaxe, that's not going to get through wood very quickly, and vice versa as well, that axe through the endstone. So that's why you see that as the preliminary defenses, and then in the later stages you might see upgrades like water, like that obsidian if you get emeralds control. And that's what I'm hoping to see from some of these top teams.
Those beds looking very comfy there for Argos. They've got quite the large sum of the red wool to protect them, and we saw a bit of a different look from some of these teams, right? So we saw Greensburg with that very aggressive early rush of two of their attackers, whereas it seems like a lot of the style of, oh my goodness, it's right, kills going left and right, as everybody between Batchelor and Greensburg under heavy fire here. It seems like Argos and Hebron are mostly staying out of the action, but it definitely has not stopped the aggression between this yellow and blue side.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I said, yellow is just the team to reckon with here. Greensburg getting the blue bed almost immediately. Fortunately, they only lose one player, so now it's down to survival, right? Because once again, you know, this is an interesting fun fact for your history lesson for Bed Wars, is we started with a different point structure. It was just surviving teams versus now proactivity, beds, final kills is rewarded. So for blue team, they can't just play for survival, because if they simply survive, they're not going to get any points this match. What they need to do is maybe go out as a collective team, a squad of 3, go for some beds, go for some final kills to make one final grand stand. But the issue here is that, again, final kills are points on the board, which is why yellow and red are both making a mad dash here and trying to deny each other that opportunity to go for these blue players.
Well, here comes backup from Greensburg, not going to go unanswered there. Does manage to bring down a member of Argos and potentially push away what could have been more aggression toward Batchelor. You mentioned how vulnerable they really are right now without having that bed available. They have to play so much more careful, and that's why you see them hanging out on this island. They don't want to go too far. They have to get something for their troubles, and they're actually going to steal a kill there onto Argos with that fire charge, knocking them off gas style, and trying to prevent this bridge from being too terribly useful. It seems like they're on all-out defense right now, even though the bed already gone.
Yeah, again, these players, red, yellow, can keep respawning and keep coming at you. And I think what they're trying to see here before blue ventures out is they want resources, right? They want at least iron armor, iron sword, because that's another thing, is armor is permanent upgrades. Your weapon is not. So they're going to try and get those iron swords, some diamonds as well for sharpness and protection before they venture out. Because again, you need that best you can get for these 1v1s where you're not going to respawn, because every duel could be your last. But for now, it's just some mid aggression, some duels over emerald control over towards mid. Not much happening other than that here. And right now, blue, as a result, kind of flying under the radar.
Yeah, they're trying to stay out of the scope of the rest of this team. And look at this gigantic pyramid we've got here. I believe that is glass that's beginning to be built up here by Argos. A little bit of an additional look. You mentioned those different tools mining these materials at different rates. Gives them a bit more survivability, which okay, Greensburg could definitely use right now as they lose one of their attackers to an unfortunate jump there.
Ooh, and across the map as well, we saw another blue player fall. So that's a point on the board as well for the red team for Argos. And then this is what we're seeing, right? Some of these kind of like sneak attacks from Greensburg. Gonna deny this diamond control. Also, this is another little fun fact, is that glass right there is basically meant to be TNT resistant, right? It's not going to get destroyed by TNT. It's a little bit of an extra plug in here. But the difficulty is if you mine your way into that and play as TNT, then all of that wool can easily be neutralized. And this is the Greensburg that we knew we were going to see, aggressive from the get-go. And this is what I love to see that we haven't seen, a strategy like boxing yourself in. You may not have tools, but you can get in and hopefully make a difference. But when you don't have a pickaxe, what were you hoping to achieve there?
Yeah, not going to make a whole lot of progress there, but does draw the attention of two members of Argos and at least making them a little bit worried here. Get some more TNT, as you mentioned, and he got some more players coming in. Does manage to drop that one down. I do believe that went inside of the glass, so huge damage there. It's exposed, as you mentioned.
Oh, they placed the block just in time before the player without a pickaxe funnels into their death. The next player, though, we'll see, they're trying to, again, play distraction, stay alive, wait for the next player from their team to respawn and come and join the assault. So now they're just going to be a consistent threat here, lurk factor, and oh my goodness, just the speed to replace that block, and also just the idea as well to just stand there so you can't break through the player. Nice defensive skills coming out from Argos.
Yeah, great job with the body block there, making sure that if anybody was going to go down, it was going to be you and not the bed. And we've got Greensburg here kind of setting up camp on the Argos Isle. Does eventually end up paying for it as they do successfully track him down as the rest of the members of Argos continuing to build back up that defense. But you know that all of these teams are very well aware at this point that the Argos base is very weak right now. Just as Batchelor was the target early on, Argos could very well be the source of some of this aggression that's going to be coming through in the next couple of minutes. We're approaching that halfway mark, and it's definitely Greensburg in the lead, but this could still be anybody's game to take.
And this is a lethal bed defense. Water plus the obsidian defense starting to form as, again, they have this dominant control over mid. Especially, I think that's why they attacked Argos. Because Argos, I was going to say, would be nervous to fight towards mid. But the singular player taking a dive here, again, not going to work out, especially when you have these hard-tuned defenders with bow spam posted up on the glass fortress. But I want to go take a look at green team here for a second, if possible, observers. Because this is a team that we haven't seen much out of, right? Because they've been very defensive, just hanging out on their base. And I think that's why Greensburg is targeting blue and red, right? Hebron, they went up against them in the semifinals. They know that they're not a threat. So they're going against those teams. They don't know what they have up their sleeve. Again, Argos, the team to beat. Batchelor, fully eliminated. I don't even know who the other two fell to. But again, that's what we like to see, is just understanding of your opponents and strategizing accordingly, even if you are just middle schoolers.
Yeah, it does look like, at least based on score count, if those kills did go down, it'd be in favor of Greensburg. They're up 6-1 right now over Argos, and as you mentioned earlier, Hebros are the only members still available to play defense, and we get the big ol' high there from from Argos, making sure that everybody knows that this is their point to control, and they are not going to be giving it up anytime soon. When you can start throwing on aesthetics to the points that you control, that's how you know that you're getting pretty comfortable.
No, for sure, and a beautiful hello as well to our observers and our production staff. So hello to you as well, and we'll get confirmation after the game as well, right? Greensburg got one final kill, Argos got another. That's the kind of loophole here, though, if you're the blue team, and this is what I like to see, is if they just jump off the map without any outside like interaction, then nobody gets those points, right? So that's one way to keep it close when you know that you can't find any points. So I'm curious to see if they were in fact, you know, just killed in the kill feed without us casters noticing. And it does look like, yep, thank you, production. Argos did manage to get a second one of those final kills. So there's only one now left unaccounted for. That we'll find out later down the line what exactly happened. But again, this is that turf war action that we're starting to see between two very evenly matched squads. As you set up an outpost on this diamond island, you're not in danger. And again, that's what they use this high for. They put up their own red wall and are now using it to hide behind.
Yeah, it's almost kind of ironic, right? How it's a high sign, but it's really being used to prevent anybody from coming in. It seems so welcoming, but if you get too close too quickly, somebody could jump out from behind them. And it also denies, right, a lot of information, Zobi, because you obviously can't see through their big ol' high, and you don't know how many members might be lurking there unless you have the call out from the rest of the team. Does mean that they've got to be very careful on the approach, and everybody has left the high island from the side of Argos, but that does does mean that they still have to find some other place to put their aggression. Looks like they're going to be heading toward mid here as Greensburg tries to take control of this Diamond Isle and take back control of what should have been theirs originally.
I thought for a second they were going to fireball the IHSEN, and I would have been really, really sad.
That'd have been
but
tragic.
We've gotten the final word as well that Hebron actually managed to get one of those final kills. So blue team not able to rob the squads of any points across the board. But that's the thing that I mentioned about Hebron. They know how to survive, right? Because it was usually the bottom team getting eliminated. But this is the grand finals. You don't just need to be average. You need to stand out, which is what Greensburg so far has done. And is why Red is so adamant about shutting them down so the rest of the points and maybe even the Hebron squad can go towards them. But when you're getting double teamed like this, and again, this is your attack squad from Greensburg, it's so difficult to shut down this sort of coordination.
And you did point out earlier, right, that they had so much of this mid control so early on, which does mean that, as production is just showing us, they have such a good control of their of their base. Not only do they have that obsidian that we talked about previously, also the water on top of it, making sure that nobody can get in anytime soon. That takes so incredibly long, by the way, to mine through. Even if you're using diamond tools, obsidian underwater is nothing to be joked about.
Yeah, and what you actually saw there as well was an ender pearl. I think it missed the island, but those ender pearls also cost emeralds, right? So now they're just casually spending, trying to bolster their attack. So this is their true late phase of the game, right? They've gotten everything they wanted. Their checked boxes are complete, and now they're just playing the variability of the red squad. Versus red, I don't want to say they've had enough control there to make a difference here. And low-key at this point, if you are Argos or Greensburg, I think this is when I would personally be targeting Hebron instead, right? A squad that you know are just easy points at this point if you're two seasoned squads. And I think that's the difficulty here, is that neither team has really combated them. And Hebron just kind of like the chill squad. They're just here having fun, surviving, and it's okay, Arrow. It's okay.
Yeah, they have played the isolationist strategy here so far, and not a lot of interaction as a result of that. I mean, even the aggression from Greensburg, which has been pretty significant, doesn't seem like they've landed Hebron in their scopes at any point in time. But as you brought up earlier, I mean, you have to find some way to get these points, right? You can't just be the last surviving team, because guess what? Greensburg is going to be there until the end of the game unless somebody takes them out. So no points going to be available. But hang on, speak of the devil and he may appear. Greensburg now shifting their attention toward Hebron on this right side and beginning a potential assault.
Yeah, and trying to bridge up here. This is the strategy I love to see in Bed Wars, right? But like bow spam is so difficult to counter, right? You can't bridge up like this. You're gonna get knocked off. That fall damage is gonna come in. So even if you get to the island, you're gonna be weakened. And at this point, it feels like yellow team was kind of splintering their attempts, right? You see Zendrix as well finding a kill across the map too. So I'm curious to see exactly. This is what, again, you run the risk if you splinter off of your island being vulnerable, especially when, look at this again. Zendrix was alive in their base. The water defense delivers. But when you leave that many players aside, then yeah, you can get through. Look, now they know there's obsidian on the bed. Even if they didn't get through it, that is huge information for Argos here. And look, they're still occupying that high island too. And this is the difficulty for Greensburg, right? Is they are sandwiched between the two remaining opponents of Hebron and Argos. So they're consistently going to be under fire by one opponent or another.
I was just about to bring that up. It feels like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and they kind of did earn themselves that point of being the center of attention, being the focal point of both of these two remaining teams, because they have played so aggressive. They've ventured out into the outstanding map significantly more often than these other teams, which does mean that at some point somebody is not going to be in their base. We've seen some four-man defense from Hebron. It's been a lot of 2-2 from Greensburg, but if they get too lackadaisical, if Greensburg decide to send too many people to go begin the assault on Hebron, that does leave their base vulnerable. And you mentioned it, they do now know there's obsidian on the bottom, so they know it'll take a while, but that doesn't mean that they can be stopped necessarily if nobody's there to play defense.
Greensburg right now isn't really going for an all-out yellow charge. If you saw one player mid, I think they're going up for emeralds, right? Because there are, I think, resources you can get to quicken that pace of a Hebron assault, right? Like I said, ender pearls, TP in, so you can get past those, where then you can maybe get it done with one or two players, even if there are four defenders there, right? Get into the bed, box yourself in like they did for the blue team against Batchelor, and suddenly you find success. But Argos at this point, like, they're just waiting for that opportunity, right? Hoping that they're going to leave or keeping the players here as well. And again, I mean, Argos, like, it's a 2 to 6 like difference, right? So again, this is a best of 3. Ooh, first off, that was a distraction for the mid place. That needs to be pointed out. But second, right, this is one bed broken difference, and then suddenly you take the lead. So Argos at this point, if they stalemate the game, are happy, right? There's 2 more maps after this.
Might just be the long game here from Argos, who are seemingly content to at least pin down Greensburg and prevent them from getting too far into their own base, or excuse me, into the enemy base of Hebron, who have been playing very carefully so far, don't want to face the same fate as Batchelor, and they do definitely have 2 big imposing giants on either side of them. Things have slowed down quite a bit here, Zobi, as we begin to wind down toward these last couple of minutes. You mentioned a potential long game strategy here from Argos. Greensburg could also very well just be content with what they've got. They have a 4-point lead over the second place. That is no laughing matter. And they could also just be seeking to retire here from map number 1 with that lead and allow themselves to find a new situation that doesn't involve being pinched between 2 teams like this, because I'm going to be honest with you, Zobi, it does not look pleasant to be Greensburg right now and just getting peppered from behind the high sign for the rest of your life.
No, for sure. I'm sure this is a lesson they're going to take it to the next map, right? Maybe target a side team instead of the team directly across from them. Again, I was kind of question marking Batchelor, but maybe they noticed, yeah, the bed defense was lacking versus red and green were bolstering immediately, and they took advantage of that. And this is what I mentioned prior, though, as well. They were saving up resources to make one of these surprise attacks, and they're destroying and TNTing multiple locations. It's a full-on rush, but guess who also has Obsidian? Red team has their defenses also in place, and that is stacks and stacks of iron. Again, the savings is splintered here. The trophy now won by Argos in successfully defending their bed, but they got to repair here quickly. 3 minutes to go. I don't think Greensburg is going to have enough time to save up for another assault like that, and that's the difficulty here.
Yeah, that seemed like a lot of resources expended there by Greensburg for not a lot of cash out. I mean, you get the information that we talked about previously. You don't necessarily know whether or not you've got Obsidian at the bottom of that bed, but they definitely are aware of that now. The question is, will they be able to have enough time to get back over there? Zentrix cannot successfully find his way into this Hebron base. They've got bridges going in all directions, archers positioned at every corner, but it seems like the defenses are holding strong for now. Would potentially require some Ender Pearls and some TNT if they wanted to get in, or some cooperation from an outside team.
Yeah, for sure. You saw Gendrix, right? They fell off when they were trying to distract from those mid-bow spams here. And this is what I want to see. Plexus push in. Yeah.
Here we go.
The side player had been distracted, and that's when you needed to jump on the bed and box yourself in, because then once the attention's back on you, you're not going to find any forward progress. And speaking of forward progress, 2 minutes to go. This is going to have to be a last stand from these teams if they want those final points, those final bed breaks. If not, we're going to see that 6-1-2, where map 2 and 3 could mean everything here. With single bed break and somebody else is going to have the lead. And I think that's exactly what yellow team is doing here. Destroy your bridges. It doesn't matter here. Just keep your bed.
Yeah, slash and burn philosophy will keep them safe, provided you don't have any Ender Pearls to get back in here. We saw one very aggressive push from Greensburg. I don't think that we've gotten to capture a similar push from any of these other teams. Argos has been pretty much posted up behind this high sign for the... Aw, we lost some of the high sign? Really, guys, with a minute 30 left?
It's all gone. The camaraderie eliminated. This was that final minute assault that Argos was going to try and stage against Greensburg. At this point, they're just playing out the formalities, right? They know this is going to be a stalemate. And again, this opens up a huge opportunity for Hebron or Argos, right? You get one bed break, say on Batchelor in map number 2, and you are tied or more likely so, especially with those final kills, which is again why I think everyone is satisfied with this result, except for Greensburg, who went for the green island, went for the red island, just unceremoniously.
And we've got about 50 seconds left here. You mentioned all these bridges being broken. It seems like a formality at this point, but also no reason not to rush forward. Try something. Puts down some TNT there, but CamSlam won't be able to find his way successfully to that Greensburg island. So all in all, with map number 1 beginning to come to a close here, seems like Greensburg had the right idea, sending out 2 members early on, getting that good control of that mid, allowing themselves the good resource generation and making sure that they didn't forfeit any of those opportunities to the opponent. And it does seem like that hyper-aggressive strategy that you mentioned has been a trademark for them throughout this tournament, is continuing to pay off for them here, even in grand finals against their steepest competition yet.
No, for sure. And a little bit of green on red violence here right as the game is going to expire. But look at that water, right? You're not going to be able to destroy that bed, even if you're dueling it out. Wait. Yeah, okay, that was just the end of the game. No bed destroyed here against Hebron. Everybody from these three squads are going to survive, and that's going to be our point standing heading now into our next map of Savoy. And I think, again, now Hebron, right? I said you have an opportunity, but you got to change your strategy here, which again, I've casted Hebron quite a few times, and this is their turtling worked really well in the old point structure, but not so much here anymore with the new kind of proactive scoring approach, which definitely encourages more colorful gameplay. But aside from that, what else can we take away here? I mean, yellow team still gonna be sandwiched again. I think map 3 is the only one that changes the color island like positioning. So again, you're gonna have the same neighbors, the same opponents. And again, I'm hoping to see Greensburg target a different opponent right out the gate.
And if you're Batchelor on the other side of things, right, you obviously had a very long period of time there that you got to formulate your game plan for game number 2. It did seem like they were the initial target, like they were the one that faced most of the ire, especially of Greensburg early on, but even of Argos beginning to make that pincer maneuver on them. Batchelor did get eliminated, but they should have an excellent game plan at this point, Zobi, based on just what they got to witness from that previous game once they got to go into the spectator and once they had some time outside of the game to begin to formulate a plan. Because obviously, if you're Hebron, man, you didn't get to talk anything at all about what you're going to be doing in game number 2. You were playing defense the entire game. Whereas Batchelor, they absolutely have something to prove here. 0 points, the only team that didn't manage to score a point, so they've got a lot of work ahead of them, but not too late when every single one of these bed kills is going to give you 5 points. They are still very much within striking distance if they can adapt to this more aggressive playstyle that we're seeing from Greensburg and Argos.
They're trying to beat them to the mid-bridge island. They do have a speed bridger on their squad, it seems. And I like how they're going elevated here, right? They want you to be able to jump off to mid, even if you take that fall damage. There's not a direct bridge to your island. Or you can go directly to the emerald generator. But look at yellow team Greensburg. Don't target Batchelor again. This is how Vikings got eliminated. And look at this yellow team realizing and now going to connect to the island. And they're realizing their mistakes there. They spent their resources on, I was going to say a chain armor instead of the bed defense. And now there's only a singular block between the bed and them. Fortunately, like you mentioned, some fall damage. They got to work their way back up. But this is, again, heavy danger in my mind for Batchelor.
But this is definitely a different playstyle that we saw from them. I talked about those adaptations that Batchelor needed to recognize and make, and this could very well be one of them. If you can't if you can't beat them, join them. Seems to be the playstyle here from Batchelor and Greensburg, sticking with what they do best, getting up onto this mid-island very early on with those forward scouts. But Argos has definitely gotten a bit of a chip on their shoulder, a thorn in their side here for this Greensburg team. A lot of red on yellow violence here early on, preventing Greensburg from getting that stranglehold that they had of the mid-aisle in game number 1.
Now, I do really, really like the approach from Argos, right? They're still being aggressive over towards mid, but they wait until their bed is at least kind of handleable, right? You saw that heavy wood defense is going to be hard to get into really early on to stop a bum rush like we've seen out of Greensburg towards these opposing islands. And then that's when you connect the bridge. That's when you go aggressive. Versus blue, right? They left themselves vulnerable to a rush. Now they've kind of remedied that a little bit here with this defense. So it looks like Greensburg not going to find an early pickings this time around. You talked about learning from your first match. Well, it seems like every squad has so far.
And a bit of a slower pace game here in this one than we saw in the previous one. Greensburg, of course, did get that very early grasp of that middle island, but definitely going to need to play a lot more defensive. Hang on a second, a lot of violence here in the middle area. Argos getting 2 successful kills, not only on Greensburg, but also one onto Hebron. They're playing a incredible defense of this middle island right now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, Red feels like they have the best PvPers. Greensburg feels like they have the best Bed Wars players, right? Like, they understand the strategy, they understand how to rush these islands, and how the timing of these games should work. They understand the resource management. We see the TNT, the Ender Pearl saves from that first game as evidence of that. Hebron, really good defenders. Batchelor, I think they're kind of on the middle ground of everything, which makes them a really well-rounded team, why they're in the grand finals. But even here, right, Plexus is just denying them that early round kind of resources, and those emeralds that they had, right, to get those Ender Pearls, to get that Obsidian. They want to beat them to it.
And they've gotten an excellent start here, getting that choke point of the Greensburg Island. They've basically sent three people pretty repeatedly to try to break through this choke point, but haven't been able to pull it off. Now we're going to see an assault here from Argos. Not a whole lot of bed defense to speak of, but as you mentioned, no pickaxe available for Zendrix. He does have the iron sword, though, so that's going to get him one. TNT? And look at this TNT on the back!
What? Obsidian has gotta be cheaper in this game mode. How the heck do they get full Obsidian that quick into the game? Greensburg showing what it means to be the first island to get to middle. I look at that though, it's not fully defended. There's one piece of endstone. If they realize this and get all these players, they don't have a full Obsidian defense. They place each piece as they get it. And I think just again, the lack of a pickaxe there is what prevents Argos from getting a bed onto the top dogs of Greensburg out the gate.
That could have been huge for them there. A great initial early assault there from Argos on what was the team to beat in map number 1 does mean that now Greensburg has to play a bit more defensively, which has not really been their style. They want to be on the front foot on this middle island, taking as much space as possible, but as you mentioned, when you've got just the stone in front of that bed, you still have to play a little bit more carefully, and Batchelor have successfully branched out here to this Emerald Island on the right-hand side, beginning to contend with Hebron a bit, who continue to seem to be playing that more turtle-based style that you mentioned previously. It has worked out for them pretty well so far, though.
And the issue, though, is, again, Hebron looks like easy pickings for all these squads. Batchelor, right, targeting them because they need some semblance of points, or they run the risk of being last place. And I like this. We're trying to play off the blue and yellow contact together, right? Distract them with the bow spam on one side. Greensburg could rush on the other side and get a quick bed break because this defense isn't fully fleshed out here just yet from Hebron. Aside from that, though, we haven't seen much action. We did see that player kind of fall back on the yellow side. They're just testing the waters, you know?
Just gotta see what the temperature is, see if there's any weak points, and you can exploit them as we see more bow spam here from Batchelor. Far more aggressive, I want to point out, here in map number 2 than we saw from them previously. I think that they might have even lost their bed by this point in map number 1, but they look very comfortable here, firing off some of these fire charges actually at the green base, trying to make their way in. They're gonna build this bridge, and looks like they're going for an assault here.
Oh, but again, the masters of defense, masters of knockback. Literally, Arrow, I think, has the knockback stick in hand, which essentially is a stick enchanted with, like, knockback, I want to say, like, 10 or something. But speaking of action, look at this. I think we had some players and some red assault over towards Greensburg. They're just trying to dent these yellow defenses, right? Try and gather more information. And also, again, just keeping the yellow players at this island. Make sure they don't get emeralds. Make sure they don't complete this full obsidian defense.
And perhaps more critically, make sure that they're not playing their game plan, their playstyle that they've had so much success with. They have to make all of these adaptations on the fly, and as you can see from another Greensburg player taking a spill there, doesn't seem like the adaptations are coming yet, but here comes Argos, 3-man assault into the Greensburg base.
Oh, but they're getting knocked off. The bridge was destroyed. Like, that's the easiest way, is to place some spleef with those shears if you feel like you're under assault again. They know there's a weak point on that bed right now, and that's exactly what we're trying to see the Dragons take Storm over. And now they're starting to make those repairs while everyone's trying to get the next layers of weaponry. And this is going to be huge. This is going to be a brawl. You got to get higher than that, though, or the bows, knockbacks all going to come in tow.
He does manage to stay on, though, so it's a 2-man assault here of the Greensburg base, fighting their way through, and they do actually get 2 kills there, make it 3. Hang on a second. Cam Slam and Plexus combine to bring down many members of this Greensburg base. They get the TNT down. The bed is exposed here. They have to retreat, but they're only 1 block away from breaking this bed.
Oh, and again, we saw it from Argos, so we've seen it from Greensburg now. The knowledge that when that TNT gets broken from a singular block, replace it ASAP, because it is the difference here. But look, speaking of the difference, we talk about PvP ability. Well, you gapple up, you refight, and that's what this enchanted iron armor is bringing. And now you've gotten Zendrix with you as well. This is dangerous for Greensburg right now.
They are still very vulnerable, and Argos smell blood in the water. Everybody piling onto this island. Red's bed was, in fact, destroyed off-screen by Batchelor, but Red is still on the offensive here. They have pulled the goalie, and they have scored one of their own. Red, Argos successfully take down the bed of Greensburg after a 5-minute-long assault. They answer back onto the Kings.
Oh my goodness. I just need to say this game is a perfect example of different strategies and their counterplays, right? Argos leaves their base unattended. 4-player rush onto Greensburg when they know how close they are. As a result, they lose their own bed, but they get the bed break. But Greensburg, they got like 3 more points there, right? They full swept Argos because Blue destroyed the opposing bed and they won out those duels. So Greensburg, I think, is going to be sitting at a nice little 9. Hebron now the one lagging. Argos, yeah, is at 7. I mean, at that point, Greensburg, I think that's a fair trade, right? As long as you know, survive, maybe find that final kill into red, which is exactly what this yellow, or it's like green, I can't tell. That yellow, yeah, those yellow players are doing. Like, this is gonna guarantee you basically a lead, I would say, on this map, unless, you know, green or blue bed will fall.
Cam Slam does eventually go down to the assault there from GJH and the rest of the Greensburg boys. They do successfully bring down the last member of Argos, but it was a very effective assault there. All of the beds broken for not only this Argos squad, but also Greensburg now, which means Hebron and Batchelor going to be your 2 teams to watch here. No respawns coming through from Greensburg or Argos. And what seemed to be the 2 weakest teams, or the most exploitable in map number 1, are now the powerhouses here in map number 2. Hebron lagging behind a bit in the points department, still only 1 point to their name. Getting a bed break off onto Batchelor would catch them back up and put them back in contention for this for this championship spot, rather. But they do have to find some opening, and it doesn't look like they're going to be playing aggressive anytime soon.
Wow. And this is just insane here. And I like this to play from yellow, right? Now that they have no bed defense, right? They have nothing to live for. They're going to full YOLO mode, right? Like we said, they stormed the red player. Now I think they're just going to go for a 4-person assault right into the green or the blue base. That's the best bet here. And I think I would just maybe stake out mid, try and wait to see when green and blue are attacking each other. And then that's when you strike, much like how Batchelor did up against the Argos island. But aside from that here, we'll get to see exactly how it plays out here. Because you can also, if you're Greensburg, just try and deny those points. And that's exactly, I think, the approach they're going for. Fortress up, stay alive, don't let them get any points, because that is going to be the difference of you keeping and losing the lead. And then you got to trust in Hebron and Batchelor as well, not to lose their beds, though.
Yep, and Batchelor, I think, here are the ones to watch, because they're the guys that everybody's got to come to, right? Like, Hebron has to make some points on the board at this point, and it looks like they're going for it here. MSD Raptor gets 2 kills off onto Batchelor, trying to break their way in. Meanwhile, Greensburg continues to turtle up here, adopting that Hebron style. But it is green all over blue action on the left-hand side. Hebron can't seem to find their way out of their own base. They are being assailed by Batchelor, who are pretty comfortably in 3rd place right now, at least as far as the points go, but momentum seems to be favoring them quite heavily here in map number 2.
And I think those kills, again, were just defensive ones, right? Like, blue is rushing green, you knock them off the bridge, and it's done and dusted here. Yellow, they're just now the chaos agents at this point, right? They're just, like, making sure, again, they don't want either team to get a bed, right? Like, this is, again, playing the higher level strategy of how you're going to win the grand finals, not the map at hand.
True.
And again, if you stop green from getting the blue bed, I think that's the big thing, right? Because Hebron, you know, they get a bed, it's fine, right? They're still not going to be taking Greensburg's crown at the moment. Batchelor's the problem, right? They get the green bed, or kills onto Greensburg, and that lead could get neutralized.
So it could be some potential inter-team cooperation here between Hebron and Greensburg to try to stifle the aggression from Batchelor. Seems to have worked so far. We saw Greensburg just a moment ago picking away at the bridge that Batchelor had going in the direction of that Hebron base, meaning that they cannot make their way over there. If they can't get to the island, they can't break that bed down. So Greensburg effectively a mercenary agent here for the Hebron side of things, preventing them from getting over. You can see Batchelor starting to contend with Hebron here with those knockback sticks, as you mentioned. And the TNT actually goes down here, just throwing more chaos into the mix, trying to make sure that they can get everybody off this island. And arrows between a rock and a hard place, he will be pushed off the edge.
And quite literally, the Batchelor base is burning as they make this assault. It's just a full sweep, but again, it's just for the Diamond Island, right? So they haven't made much progress here. And I think holding this is good, but the respawns are going to come, the rebattle's going to come, and you're still simultaneously worried about yellow pulling a fast one on you, right?
Yep.
Because your bridge is connected to mid, but aside from that, this pretty much sums up, I'd say, this round
Yeah.
for a few teams.
Definitely. Things quite literally and metaphorically on fire here for Batchelor as Greensburg continues to play the Chaos Agent you mentioned, breaking down this bridge. It does seem like Greensburg have had pretty strong control of this middle island because Batchelor and Hebron have been spending so much time going back and forth against one another. Doesn't seem like any real progress has been made recently by them into that middle state, so as far as map control goes, Greensburg's still sitting pretty comfortably, even though their bed is gone. And you gotta wonder, Zobi, is there a point where Hebron or Batchelor need to make a concerted aggression against Greensburg just to get this Chaos Agent out of the mix?
No, for sure. I think that's what I would be doing if I'm Batchelor, because again, you get all 4 of those final kills, you're ahead of Greensburg too, right? You don't need that bed. It just feels like it's the easier task of the two. They haven't even gotten to see, right, this fortress that Greensburg has set up on their island. And again, you talk about how they were trying to still fight for mid control. That's because those emeralds are worth more than just obsidian, right? It'll get you diamond armor for each of these players because again, every fight could be your last here. And I mean, you got to be careful as well, especially when you're going for these diamond islands. One misstep and you're falling off too. And they just want to again stay alive and try to stop Batchelor by all means possible.
5 minutes, the timer remaining here for Batchelor, Hebron, and Greensburg to play defense. Greensburg, mostly the aggression agent here. They do have their own fortress to speak of, but definitely seems like a lot of that was caused by this aggression from Argos. We see a spectator pulling up here. Red Bed was in fact destroyed by Batchelor a little bit earlier on. Talk to me a little bit more about this kill feed, Zobi, and what this big thing that spectators pointing out for us here is going to be.
Yeah, so we're basically tallying those final kills just to see again who got what kills, and I think that's exactly why I think Greensburg focused so hard on that last red player was they didn't want it to be a 2-2 split to Batchelor. They wanted to make sure they had an advantage over those final kills, so they got that 3-1 split, what allowed them to get a few points on the board despite losing their bed. And aside from that here, maybe I was right. We're double checking it. I saw the point regress. We're gonna get it checked out, but again, it's just it's gonna be yeah, there it is. I was it was a full sweep. Haha, look at me and my memory. I'll take my bows now. But aside from that, speaking of bows, I said it, a final let's stand here out of Greensburg, and they are hand delivering these kills. They said it, they're gonna make one final grandstand. They saved up those emeralds, they saved up those resources. You block yourself in, there's not a full defense here, but you block yourself in with wool, so all these respawning players, you are just staying alive. You gotta wait for a teammate to come bail you out. How many wool blocks do you have at this point?
And how many people are going to come to play defense? Everybody from Batchelor desperately trying to get in here and slay that last member. GJH does go down. Question is, does he get the bed? The answer is going to be no here. So Batchelor do stave off the aggression from Greensburg. That was a sneaky little assault there from Greensburg, trying to make the most that they could out of the last couple of minutes in the game. Batchelor, unfortunately for them, did manage to get back to play defense in time, so no additional points going to be going the way of Greensburg as a result of that one.
And again, I like that they didn't, like, you know, throw away all 4 kills, right? Because if they did, then again, it would be 9-10, and then again, you're in the danger zone for the next map. I mean, they're still in the danger zone for the next map, but aside from that, they didn't want to give them all 4. But this is a weekend in Greensburg that Hebron, again, I said it, they sneaked away with 1 final kill. Last map, they're looking to sneak away with a few more here.
And they're going to be pushing down specifically onto Greensburg here. 2 members to play defense. They've got that flank on the right-hand side. GJ trying to knock off these last 2 members who have holed themselves in here on one singular dirt block. Question is, will they be able to find a way into this fortress that Greensburg have constructed for themselves? Seems like one Greensburg member is in fact vacating the premises here and forfeiting the fortress in favor of trying to find their way to safety.
There's no bed there,
and
Chief.
Hebron, somebody's got to tell them that there's no bed in there, right?
I think they've realized it here, but again, this is what I like from Yellow is you have no attachments, right, to the mortal realm. You can leave your island, you can vacate, and it looks like they're actually going for the other vacated island, right? They're gonna set up a new base, right? There's a generator there.
Sure.
They destroy the bridge. They find a new home, right? They've set sail to greener pastures, and again, that was a huge call again to keep these points off the board.
And the question is, what was Batchelor doing while two members of
True.
Hebron were occupied? Because they did have the 4-on-2 there. If they had the information that was going on, based on the lack of action in the kill feed, doesn't seem like Batchelor was aware that Hebron and Greensburg were button heads there. So that does mean that Batchelor's still sitting pretty comfortable here, but with 1 minute and 40 seconds left, the question once again becomes, are you going to play for more points of your own, or are you just trying to prevent the rest of these teams from scoring any additional points? I mean, if you can keep Hebron at 1 point going into map number 3, that could be catastrophic for Hebron, and make sure that you have one fewer foe that you have to actually contend with going into map 3.
Yeah, you would get what? I think 12 points is the max you can get from one match, and that is having a perfect. Actually, no, that's like one bed break, one full team wipe, and then staying as the final team standing. So again, I mean, if you have a perfect game, like any of these teams can win right now. But again, I don't think that's gonna happen. So, ooh, Ender Pearl. Wait,
There we go.
Spicy. Last minute. Can they get the bed? Nope, they are gone already.
It's worth a shot, though. I mean, you got 50 seconds left. Unfortunately, all that water to go through, in addition to what you can only assume is going to be obsidian on the inside of that, is going to be very difficult to break through, regardless of how many members you send in. One definitely wasn't cutting the mustard there for them. Unfortunately, that base does hold strong, and as these final moments wind down, Zobi, what is your game plan here if you're Batchelor or Argos? Because you're still 3 points behind Greensburg going into map number 3. Are you looking to prey on this weak Hebron team who you know is going to be over-aggressive? Or do you just have to shut down Greensburg on map number 3?
Ooh, it's so hard because I think Greensburg is adept at this game enough that if they see Batchelor Argos going for Hebron, they're going to take that opportunity to attack your island. So I think I definitely agree. I think they should target Hebron if you're Batchelor or Argos. But I think they need to like have 2 players on their island still. So they need to win it with like a double team, like really early on in the game. Because again, Hebron, their strategy, get bows up and then you cannot get past them. Yep. And I think, again, one bed break and suddenly you're in the lead. So that's what they really need to favor here. But again, it's so interesting because we're going into map 3, right? And you can get 30 points if you have a perfect game. And by perfect, I mean you've destroyed every bed, you've gotten every final kill, and you are the last team standing. I think I did my math correctly, 15 plus 12 plus the 3. And again, we're heading now into some Riptide. And what do you think of this map, right? Look at the shape of it. I love this map so much.
That is so aesthetically pleasing to look at, man. And every time I see something that looks this impressive, it just reminds me of how pathetic all of my builds were in Minecraft. Even when, I had like my mountainside resort and stuff like that I was trying to build with like this giant deck overlooking my beautiful canyon that I found for myself. It pales in comparison to what these true artists are capable of creating here in the realm of Minecraft. And an excellent backdrop for us here in Grand Finals, map number 3, everything on the line for these 4 teams. And Hebron, they're going to have to get one heck of a comeback here if they want to find their way back into the championship contention. Have to destroy probably at least 1 bed, maybe 2 if they want to find their way back in. Meanwhile, Greensburg, Argos, and Batchelor all within about 3 or 4 points of one another, not too far out of contention, meaning that they don't necessarily have to play that over-aggressive style that Hebron do. They are still close enough that they don't have to simply scrape by with every point that they can. Could be a bit more defensive gameplay, whereas Hebron, on the other hand, we're going to have to see a significant adaptation from them. Just playing defense is not going to cut it anymore.
Yeah, at this point, right, you need 2 beds and then you're winning by 1. So again, the final kill slipped through and suddenly a Batchelor Argos tie you up as well. But aside from that here, I appreciate the aesthetics of the map as well, but something I noticed from the strategic point of view as well is bridge your Diamond Island, that octopus is only a few blocks away from mid, right? So you don't have to bridge directly to mid, and that's exactly what Greensburg is going for, right? Instead of speed bridging to mid, they go to this octopus island and then are going to attach to the head and get just as quick of control. But this is the adaptation you mentioned from Batchelor, right? They want to get ahead. They don't want to get stormed here really early on, but they went for the direct approach here. They didn't want to combat Greensburg, and I think this is dangerous. Look at the 3-person squad. I think that they could have rushed blue off the bat and then find that lead, lock it in here from the get-go.
And we do have a member of Batchelor already on this middle island. Looks like the blue team has in fact gotten pretty solid control. You can see that bridge successfully built out there from the Batchelor pirate ship all the way into mid. But hang on the flank, Greensburg from that middle island that you mentioned they bridged their way out to, they're beginning to take a point here behind the Batchelor spawn. It does look like they have been spotted out and Batchelor retreat to play some defense here, but a lot of time, a lot of manpower invested by Batchelor just to stave off the aggression from Greensburg. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, which should favor, Batchelor, considering they're much closer to their own spawn. But Greensburg turned around so many members of Batchelor there and stopped them from making any further progress.
Yeah, this bridge is just, it being built is huge here, because then there's a consistent threat you got to worry about on the sidelines. But they did give up that first round of emeralds, right? And that's another whole topic we haven't even dived into as well, okay? So is that as the game progresses, the generators upgrade and they spawn more frequently. So again, the emeralds are a rarity in the first stages of the game, which is why I was so shocked Greensburg had that much obsidian. And I think that's why all of the teams are now branching to mid, but we mentioned this. Argos could target Hebron, and Hebron has now directly bridged to mid. This is the first match we have all 4 players on the mid island at the same time.
And the question is, who's going to be drawing blood first? Looks like all of the aggression coming through from Hebron here. They know that they've got points that they have to collect, so they're chasing down just about anybody that they can to try to secure control of this middle island. They have played so defensively, so effectively, but it has not converted to these points. They're now beginning to adapt to this playstyle that we've seen from Greensburg in map number 1, Argos in map number 2, and now Hebron here. But hang on, blue base under assault here by Greensburg. Bet is exposed completely, but no one left to do the killing blow. A couple of wood blocks will go down, but here comes Hebron beginning to fight their way all across this bridge into the green base, the blue base. They knock one off and do successfully defend. Batchelor under heavy fire from Hebron and Greensburg, barely clinging onto their bed.
I'm sorry, but Hebron and these knockback sticks are so funny, right? Like, if you had an iron sword there, like, the TNT, like, did so much damage to those blue members, that could have been an easy wipe. But speaking of, that bed defense was never repaired. They even picked up, right, the yellow wool blocks to try and repair here haphazardly. So I think it's going to be yellow throwing everything they can here into this assault. Or maybe you save up another 1 TNT block, and that's exactly what they've done. But they've been puppy guarded into the fence line, and as a result, that TNT will never reach its intended target, and we're going to see Batchelor live to fight another day.
Wow, huge defense there from Batchelor. That could have been game-breaking for them and basically eliminate them from this championship contention, but instead, 16 more minutes can be staring them down. And after all of this aggression that we've seen so far, Zobi, look at this base that Argos have built up here. They've got the glass, they've got the water. One can only assume that actually no obsidian going to be on the inside of that one, but still a formidable base to be spoken of. They have mostly kept themselves out of a lot of this action that we've seen in map number 3, letting Hebron duke it out with Greensburg and Batchelor, and that has certainly paid dividends for them. I mean, that is a very safe base. If you have to venture out, I think that you're much more happy to have that behind you, as are Greensburg here now, trying to build up the same thing. No obsidian on the inside, as was the case with that Argos base, but certainly a lot more controlled than Hebron or Batchelor are right now.
I feel like they've been kind of like spreading the wealth across the 4 teams, right? That's the difficulty when all of them are in mid for those emeralds, is you can't really find anything. And I like the approach here from Argos, right? This game is so close that one bed break can be the difference. So if you let each team eliminate each other, you can quickly use that little 1v1 to close out the game and get those 3 points, and that 3-point winning margin would be the difference. But speaking of the difference, even though they were defending their bed tooth and nail, it's gotta be Argos to sneak in for the kill. No players are gonna be downed just yet, but that's 5 points on the board for Argos and Greensburg. The cleanup crew is through, going hopefully for these final kills, but they blow themselves up in the process, and it's gonna be still 4 standing strong for Batchelor.
But that's a big 5 points scored there from Argos. No bed remaining for this Batchelor side means that 4 more points available, and Hebron knows that they're coming in to clean up. They have collected on those kills. 2 of these blue members have now been picked off here, and it looks like trying to sneak away at the last moment, actually successfully pushing off a member of Argos. So Hebron find themselves a point onto Batchelor when they're at their weakest, and finally strike back onto this leaderboard.
Wow. And again, now Batchelor, right? Yeah, this is devastation, and Hebron just trying to go in for these final kills. So we take a look at that kill feed to make sure our points are going to be accurately racked up. And again, this is the difference. When you can't respawn, you're going to be in consistent bereavement, because these are points on the last map that you cannot let another team get, or you run the risk of not being able at all, right, to get a point on the board.
And Hebron have certainly found their opportunity and cashed in on it, chasing down every last one of these members of Batchelor. It looks like Hunter does seem to know that there is one more member of Batchelor potentially lurking over here on this right-hand side. They could be going for the bed here, as you mentioned. A pirate ship is under contest. Looks like Hebron playing very aggressively on the right-hand side. Batchelor coming in behind them. Nova gets flanked and gets taken out.
And oh my gosh, we have a point to Greensburg, a point to Batchelor. Just, oh my goodness, Edge Warrior. They help Greensburg basically solidify the lead with that bed break, with that final kill. We have, like, I think 2 to Green. It's just like, it's like 7 to Greensburg at this point. So I think it's like 17 to like, to 2 to like, I don't even, that's gonna be hard math to do later on. But again, the takeaway from all of that is that trade-off. Batchelor knows, and as they take Hebron down, it's gonna be Greensburg versus Argos for the grand champion title.
And it's going to be about 5 or so points separating them, so that is one solid bed break. And look at this imposing base that Argos have built up for themselves. That is not one they're going to be breaking in any one concerted push, unless you have plenty of TNT on hand, plenty of those Ender Pearls as well, potentially going to be required to get yourself onto this red base and take down Argos. But Greensburg at this point, Zobi, are the team to beat. They have the game point in their hand. They're beginning to find their way into this red base. I'm not even sure if they know that this is TNT going on.
What are you doing?
All the TNT is going down, but as you mentioned, that is that's not going to be a lot of effect seen from that TNT.
It's water. What you doing, mate? And that's the thing as well, is you can just like jump up and maybe try and block the water source. But again, amidst the chaos, Argos, they've snuckily, like, one player went in and got a bed, right? While they were fully focused on their bed defense with 3 players. And again, like, I got to cast, or like, I've casted these squads, and Zendrix is a name that consistently stood out to me. So again, the fact that they sneak in like that, again, it's gonna be an all-out duel for the grand finals title. Because even if you break the bed for Argos, yes, it's tied, right? If our points are correct. But then that's the final kills that you get. And that would mean that Greenberg is in a dire situation. Like, yes, you can hunker down, but again, it's going to be consistent bereavement from Argos if you take that route.
And it seems like this was only inevitable, that it would be Greensburg against Argos here in the grand finals, 1v1 mano a mano for this championship title. And they are beginning to fight their way forward. Argos have control of mid here. Get 2 picks off onto Greensburg. They've got that bridge built up, but this ship from Greensburg is not going to be easy for them to find their way into. You could see that arrow fire beginning to go down. Even the TNT just to blow up the bridge. Because don't forget, Greensburg know they just have to play defense here. They don't ever have to come out of their base if they don't want to. If they can let this timer tick down another 10 minutes and 45 seconds, they walk away with the championship in hand.
And this is insane because they were being assaulted from all sides. You had a bowman on the left island, you had players on that bridge mid, you had one bum rushing from the right, and they're just drawing the players to this bow side of the ship while their teammates can likely scale up and finish that bridge from mid. So you have 2 players tied up here from Walmart bag, and yeah, look, that bridge is basically repaired, right? You might not get a player onto the bed defense, but this is huge. And that's why, yeah, start using these resources, get that bridge destroyed again.
And Zendrix, as you mentioned, potentially the guy to watch here for Argos, leading the charge. They have another 10 minutes to break their way into the space, so plenty of time to work with, but the question is, what's going to be the strategy here? They did successfully get 1 member across onto the ship and draw the attention of 2 members of Greensburg. Looks like with the cover fire, Zendrix is going to be going in here, trying to find his way back over onto this base, does build his way up, trying to get rid of that water source block, but can't seem to find it, and it's going to be Greensburg with 1 defense. But now here comes more members of the Argos squad fighting their way into this water, and actually taking out 2, taking out 3 almost here. Plexus is fighting his way through successfully 1v3 before he is eventually slain by this Greensburg squad. A bit of damage dealt, a bit of chaos there, but no point scored just yet for Argos.
And what I say, Argos is the PvP squad, right? Plexus in particular. Like, we can see the kill stats after each game, and I unfortunately wasn't documenting it, but I think Plexus by far has, like, the best PvP stats in this game right now. Zendrix, again, I think, like, tailing Greensburg for, again, understanding the fundamentals of Bed Wars. And, again, it's going to come down to, we said these were the top 2 dogs coming in to this matchup, right? Like, this is your number 1 and number 3 seed since GJHS upset the Vikings in those semifinals. And of course, it's going to come down to the last minutes as well of this match.
It's going to be Walmart Bag here, trying to break his way back into this base, contending with 3, if not 4 members of Greensburg. Has them all in the bow of the ship, trying to draw as much attention as possible. They do end up going down 1v4. A little more than a whimper here. Looked like maybe could have been a distraction tactic there from Argos, but with nobody left to support that assault, kind of curious what the actual intent of that might have been as Argos begin to reload the cannons here and go for another frontal assault. That bridge is crumbling fast, though, from Greensburg, meaning that Argos might have to find a new way in.
Yeah, and again, I agree with you. That felt like a little weird. Maybe just like, you got to see as well, though, I think from that, which is a great takeaway from us as casters, Greensburg like realized, wait, this could be a distraction. We got to get 2 players back out towards the bed. And that's exactly what's happening here, right? Keep them busy mid-island. On the sideline, you're going to send in Zendrix, one of your best players, to take and storm the castle. And even if they don't get through, because now you're worried about them scaling up, you can start repairing that bridge mid, hopefully. Or put up these pillars, right? So you can't get bow spammed up. And beautiful knockback there.
What a shot there. Zendrix on the flank while they've got one more in mid trying to push their way across. Zendrix has backup now. GJ tries to jump over the blockade and ends up getting thrown off the side. So now the frontal assault being led here. They've got 2, if not 3 members trying desperately to break in here. But this chokehold from Greensburg is so good. Everybody getting knocked off the world by the wooden sword. And nobody has successfully made their way onto this pirate ship.
This is interesting from Greensburg. They're going to venture out here. 2 players maybe going for a Red Island assault or just to destroy the bridge. That makes sense as well. Because right now, if you keep your bet alive, you win this game. There's no other way of spending it here. But aside from that, like, I think if you're Argos, you need to play this like 40 chess, right? You need to okay, like, yes, eventually you could slip through with one of these rogue kills, right? Like, but I think what you need to do is just gradually expand the bridge, right? With each attempt, right? Like, just like widen it, right? Because then I think Greensburg isn't being thorough enough, right, with destroying it, that I think like it'll be like completely dismantled. I think you're gonna find forward progress that way. But Greensburg, I like this. We're gonna have to tune back in with that player later on. I can't tell if they're just going for the resources. They're gonna go like all the way around, because I feel like the last place you expect a Greensburg player is coming from that green island.
He does have quite the flank here, and they have spotted him out. Argos are aware that a rogue agent is making his way forward, and he's heading his way toward what I believe to be the Hebron base now, just trying to drag as many players with him as he can. Does successfully fend off one of the attackers from Argos, so one Greensburg player not in their base means that once Walmart Bag respawns, they could potentially have a good numbers advantage here to try to find their way in. Doesn't look like that Argos base is going to be broken anytime soon. But if Greensburg is not in appropriate position for this defense, they could be outnumbered pretty quickly here. And Argos just need one moment. Here comes the Greensburg assault from behind, though. He gets the flank off, doesn't manage to push anybody off, or correction, does get Plexus in the assault before falling off for himself. So it's a 1-for-1 trade there, and 3 archers remaining from Greensburg to shoot down the assault from Argos.
Yeah, I like the response there from Argos, right? You know a player is off the island, try and go when there's 3v4 action or 3v3 action. But this is the difference as well, right? You see the diamond armor, you see the ender pearls. Because they've been holding themselves in, if you're Greensburg, all those emeralds are funneled into the Argos, attack effort, right? And that's a hefty kind of material advantage Argos has. But again, they're not timing these attacks well. They're not coordinated enough. And Greensburg as well, I think that singular venture out and to pillage the bases got them so many more materials to facilitate these fireballs, these arrows. So again, if this is how it ends, I'm not gonna lie, a bit anticlimactic, but again, it gets the job done.
And great strategic play from Greensburg. I mean, that was definitely going to be the biggest advantage that Argos had, the biggest opportunity, perhaps, once that Greensburg member was not in their own base defending it. to venture forth, but because they got away with it, because, as you mentioned, they collect all of those resources successfully, and more importantly, perhaps deprive Argos of doing that exact thing, that means that Greensburg is going to be in a very comfortable position here. Another 4 minutes to play defense. We are effectively winding things down, and it's going to have to come down to desperation here pretty soon, unless Walmart Bag can get this 1v1 on the left-hand side of the map. Looks like air was also raining through, but Walmart Bag does get the 1v1, so he secures his control of this island. That could be another front of assault for them. Here comes a little bit more aggression to finish things off. Walmart Bag does end up going down, so no attack on the right side successful. Nobody yet has broken through onto the ship from the middle or the left, which means Argos have about 1 or 2 more concerted efforts, 1 or 2 more planned pushes that they can get, and then Greensburg will just simply be winning on time.
Love that green stained glass trophy on the Greensburg castle. Like, this is what solidified our lead and is allowing us to win Indiana Esports Network Minecraft Bed Wars. But again, I think this is nice. This brevity from Argos is a great change, because it's what I'm hoping that we're about to see is one final grandstand save up 4 ender pearls. Like, obviously Greensburg isn't going for your bed right now. Like, this is when it is a 1v1. You're not worried about Batchelor. You're not worried about Hebron sneaking a rogue agent through to break your bed. So I want them to save up, get 10 pieces of TNT, get those ender pearls, right, and just go in, because even if the ender, like, the TNT obviously isn't going to break the water source, but it's gonna like knock those players back. It's gonna damage them heftily. Like, I think there it is. Look, ender pearls. Oh, you gotta make sure they land though, my dude. This is beautiful that they don't know they're there.
Yeah, the question is, how long will it take them to discover? Looks like he has found his way onto the bow of the ship, fighting his way against the terrain to find an angle into this base. I do think that Greensburg might be smelling something fishy, but it doesn't look like they have all the information just yet.
Oh my gosh, that's
and actually, hey, got a second, right in the middle of all the action, Zentrix has found his way into the bed and trying to fight his way forward. He's got help coming. Plexus on the left-hand side. The water source block is down. Here comes the TNT beginning to assault this base from Greensburg. They have successfully slain 2 members. Plexus mining his way in. He successfully breaks the bed there for Greensburg.
But it's not over just yet. As long as I was about to say, as long as nobody dies. But just like that, they're going to be leading by 1 point. Greensburg in the last 1 minute and 53 seconds now have to break the Argos bed, or Argos is going to win this grand finals by 1 final kill.
And that sneaky play on the right-hand side, coupled with that Ender Pearl right into the middle of all the action, was the difference maker there for Argos, who are now in the lead. And Greensburg, 3v4, have to find some way to get some points off of Argos. That's got to come from destroying this bed. But, I mean, even if you go for a full-out assault, that's going to leave your bed unoccupied. It feels like a no-win situation.
I mean, your bed's gone, number 1. But the issue is they broke their own bridges here, right? And so they can't even get out to go for a bum rush attempt towards Red. And Red, all they have to do is close in and secure their victory here, right? Like, they're just going for these kills. Like, why not, right? You're distracted by the mid player. This is going to be huge if you get a second one. Wow, I said I didn't want to be anticlimactic, and we definitely go out with fireworks. I said it, wait. Fall back, talk with whoever's calling the shots, and make a collective play. And you leverage both of your insanely talented players, right? Zenders goes in, plays a distraction of a fake break for the secondary player who enderpearled on the side to get the sponge placement to set up the TNT rush. It was just layer upon layer. And with 1 player remaining for Greensburg Junior High School, it is all done and dusted. Argos Middle School Dragons, with 30 seconds left, unless a miracle is breached, are going to be your Indiana Esports Middle School Bed Wars champions.
And well earned as well, right? Like, it was no cakewalk for them, for sure. Greensburg, even Batchelor there in map number 2, definitely gave them a run for their money. They had to fight from behind. It was a lot of different looks that we got to see from this team. We saw them play defensively. We saw that good, concerted, aggressive play at the end there, meaning that not only did Argos fight their way through the initial map, they managed to come out in a point where they were still within striking distance of this Greensburg team. They waited for their opportunity and seized it to perfection there and took out Greensburg, who honestly looked like they might have been the favorite through many parts of that, but Argos answered back and showed exactly why they are going to be your champions.
Wow, just again, a very well-rounded squad there. Zendra's again an insane Bed Wars player, Plexus an insane PvPer. Walmart Bag, I think I saw them in other series leading up to this, especially in the early group stage, was really, really well as a standalone player. Usually they're that scout, right, that gets the emeralds for their squad, that gets them that kind of comfortability, that early advantage. But just again, I mean, they also, it's gonna be like 24-18 is the final score, right? With those 3 points from being the sole standing. Actually, wait, I think there was one player left, so they don't get the 3 points. I'm a liar.
Yeah, he like hit up on top of the flag or something.
Yeah.
I mean, we never found out where he was, so
Yeah,
hide and seek champion nonetheless.
21-18, that mean I believe is going to be your grand title there. But again, can we take another look at those trophies production? Because again, both squads, Greensburg Junior High School and obviously the Argos Dragons, are going to take these home. Obviously, the big boy going to the former, and obviously the smaller one going to the latter, your runner-up. But again, this has been an insane season. Like, this is your first time casting Bed Wars, Kaizo. This was my first season casting Bed Wars. Like, I jumped back in at the beginning, but it's been a blast to learn about these teams and how, even at the middle school level, right, they know how to get the coordination going for some of these assaults.
Yeah, that was beautiful play there from Argos at the end. I mean, you mentioned the fake assault there that we saw from them, and then the follow-up from the sneak around through the top. I mean, if you successfully Ender Pearl onto the enemy base without getting detected, that is a huge in for you. And Argos exploited that perfectly. We wanted one more concerted push, Zobi, and we absolutely got that. They demonstrated not only their individual mechanical prowess, but their ability to function well as a team, the coordination that got them to the point that they're at now, and the teamwork that was required to get them this trophy.
No, for sure. And again, an insane season here for the Indiana Sports Minecraft Network. I think we still got some high school action happening, but aside from that, we do get a chance again to thank the people who made this possible, your amazing sponsors and your amazing behind-the-scenes production. We got Jaden, Taylor, and Connie, who've been running the show for us, your amazing casters on screen. And again, to our sponsors, Zotac, Landfast, and League OS Portal, from the funding, from, again, the support staff, to even just the platform to host these tournament series on. They've been super integral in making this a success, in uplifting, you know, K-12 scholastic talent. But Kaizo, this isn't even all the Indiana Esports Network action we got. We got Fortnite Grand Finals tomorrow too.
Oh, deep breath, man. There is so much more coming, and if it's anything like what we just got to see here in Bed Wars, I mean, you are not going to want to miss it, because we got down to the wire here in Bed Wars. I wouldn't expect anything different from Fortnite.
Oh, for sure, and that's like a completely different ball game. But with that, that does bring our Indiana Esports Network middle school Bed Wars coverage to a close for the semester. We hope everybody, the players, the teachers, the support staff for these teams that have made it possible, have a great winter break and season, and we hope to see you back in the new year. Have a great night.